Hello, and welcome to Ideas with Diana, episode 4 of the sixth season on the podcast, and also formerly on the radio station at WIPZ at UW Parkside, which is now defunct. Well, the title of this episode is "Ha." And before I get into why I titled the episode "Ha," let me just mention one thing. It's been a while since I did my podcast. And the reason why is I've had some health issues. I had a heart issue, which I needed to have my medicine updated and put on blood thinners. I've always had this heart issue, but a few weeks ago it started to act up. I was at a bar at lunch with friends, and I sat, and suddenly I didn't feel well. I started to feel like I was going to vomit, and I attempted to walk to the bathroom and vomited once, and then when I got in the bath, vomited again. A friend of mine, Annette, came in and checked to ask what was happening, and I said I motioned to the bartender to call the ambulance, and I'm glad he did because at that time, um, my heart rate had gone up to 190. My blood oxygen level was down below 90. It was like in the 80s, and when I got to the hospital, they realized that basically it was a case where my atrial fib had gone to a new level. With the new medication, I'm doing better. I did have a breakthrough where I felt like something popped out that allows my heart to flow better, but I still to those I still have trouble walking. Um, and I do rely on friends to take me to the grocery store and that. But part of the reason why I mentioned to this to you is, what you may think may be an upset stomach or nauseous or something else, or you're coughing because maybe your throat's dry or something. That's also a heart issue. And that's why I always carry a tachometer with me because I know if I start to cough too much, I know I have to sit down. And even if it means sitting down on the sidewalk, it means just sitting down on the side, plop myself down, sit on the sidewalk because if I don't, then I know basically I could get to a point of passing out. So I just mentioned this to you. If you don't try to be tough, don't try to. It's okay. It's okay to admit when you hear signals from your body and act upon them and seek a professional. And even if you have to sit down on the sidewalk if there's not a bench. Just sit down, catch your breath. Well, now going into to today's show. The reason why I call today's show "Ha" is because simply it's it's really it's really about what happened the last few days, especially yesterday. When I think of yesterday, though, yesterday is 4 days before Easter, and we had a former president that was fingerprinted, booked, um, charged with felonies based upon an old law that two misdemeanors equal a felony, which even many major news news organizations that have a very advanced legal department said, huh? Um, because what happens? What does that mean? Well, let's assume this thing goes full force and basically all these so-called felonies are charged and found guilty. It's 134 years prison time. Well, what does that mean for other people running for political office or anything? Well, it reminds me of a time when my dad was alive. When my dad was alive, my dad was a prominent automotive executive at a major company in the U.S. that made mufflers. And there are times that he had to travel in the United States during the civil rights times and the Jim Crow times, and what would happen is basically at one point when he traveled, what the company worked for, they'd have to write a letter, like a sheet of paper, something on a sheet of paper, official stationery, and because what happened was they had some of these. Areas in the United States still had things about elder towners and other things, and also about trying to get money through speed traps or other types of things, or the old two misdemeanors equals a felony trick to try to pump up the bill and also sort of threaten people. So my daddy had carried this letter whenever he traveled in certain parts of the United States, and it was in the letter. So I said, well, if you try to do that, just remember our corporate attorneys, and that. And back then also they said the New York attorneys, because back then New York attorneys were trusted just like the way the New York Times was trusted in the movie 3 Days of the Condor, not to print stories that were researched, that were background, and that were not beholden to any political party. Although some people now feel that some newspapers are beholden to a political party, some people suspect that. But back then, the New York Times, there's no such thing as that type of suspicion. But I don't know. I think I don't know about the situation as it exists now, because I haven't read the New York Times in a long time, because I'm concerned about too much political interconnection with newspapers and the media and fake media. So what happened was I watched Newsmax to see the progression of this, to see what if they actually were going to go through with this and that, because. And then I heard Trump's talk in Mar-a-Lago on Newsmax. What happened was he kept it to the time that he said, and I had a friend call me. He said, "Well, can I watch it? I said, "Sure." I said, "Why don't you come on over?" He said, "Well, it's too late. It's going to start soon." I said, "Okay." So I said, "Well, do you have Newsmax?" He said, "Well," he says, I don't have, I can't get cable." He said, "Okay, well, let's try to find it." So in my local area, Newsmax is on 55.3 in the Milwaukee area. And so my friend turned and I said, "Well, do you see Trump coming out and praying, thank God I'm an American?" Yeah, he says, yeah. I said, "Okay, guys." I said, I'll call you back later, because friends know not to call me when I'm watching Firing Line, and not to call me at certain times when I'm watching foreign items on the news. And as I heard Trump's speech, I heard some things which really concerned me. First, he mentioned something about one person who was 75 years old, who was pulled before court, and the court sort of said, "Well, if you cooperate with us, we'll help you. If you don't cooperate, you're going to get 10 years." Well, and I agree with what Trump said. To someone who's 75 years old and say you're going to get 10 years in prison, that's a death sentence. Because that means if they die in prison, that means their remains are going to have to be held in the prison. Their family's not going to be able, and they're going to, and based on what was discussed, a death sentence of any time can be excessive. I mean, that I believe in death penalty, but I believe in certain uses. But I have concerns about the way, in the situation Trump described, that basically I have great concerns about that type of thing being used on someone who is much older like that, though, and someone who's been a benefit to society for a long period of time. And even they had a guest host on, Peter Navarro, talking about his own experiences. And when I think of Peter Navarro, I think of him basically, what he did for trade, discussing the idea of free trade, and then also even basically making a modification when globalism went awry. And that, I mean, to me, basically, when Peter Navarro speaks, I listen. I mean, basically, I still think of the good that he did in trade relations and in other things worldwide during his career. Well, when I watched after I heard Trump's speech, I put a few links in here. One is from Jesus Christ Superstar, because the reason why I think about it is almost like the New York version of Jesus Christ Superstar. You have someone who's challenging the political religious elites, and the religious elites have convinced enough of the people that this person is an evil and a denigration to their belief and core values. And so it almost reminded me like it almost was like Jesus Christ Superstar, Pontius Pilate sort of having the ministers of the church first tell Jesus Christ, "Well, you got to change. Your ways are not good for our church," and then convincing the people. And you're going back to the thing in the Bible where it's there's a verse that says, "Well, person says, 'Well, I'll never betray you.' He says, 'Well, we'll see what happens when the first rooster crows this coming morning, and what happens the rooster crowed and the person realized he had betrayed. And Jesus Christ knew that, but he knew that because he didn't do it because he wanted to, but because he was forced to. And so, in a way, it did remind me of Jesus Christ Superstar. It almost was, because it almost was like a crucifixion. The media circus, waiting for Trump to come down, all the excitement about Trump getting fingerprinted and a mugshot and everything. Well, if Jesus Christ were alive today, that's exactly what they would have done in New York or some other place that didn't like what Jesus Christ was doing. They would have fingerprinted him, mugshot him, had the media there, try to go after his friends, try to go after his family. That's why I say, huh? And then even a few days before in the Ukraine, there was an Orthodox there's a metropolitan in the Ukraine, and what happened was something happened regarding his monastery, and what happened is he tried to cooperate, but then he had a heart attack, or they took him to the hospital, and then rather than postpone the hearing until basically he got better from the hospital, as soon as they thought they stabilized him, they took him back to the trial, and then pronounced judgment, and then they put a monitoring device. Now this is on an Orthodox monk who's basically is a scholar. He just studies religious texts and meditates. He's not political. He's not doesn't do anything. But I guess maybe studying the wrong type of political text or something like that, or wrong type of a religious text. I don't know. I study multiple religious texts. I study Moody's Handbook to the Bible, Unger's Handbook to the Bible, also different versions of the Bible, as there are New International Version, New Standard Version, as you can see, and even Oxford Handbook of Religion, and well, I don't know. So does that mean that if someone even studies the long books, they can be arrested and have a leg monitor put on? Again, this is again like Jesus Christ Superstar. Someone goes against the the elites of that control a church, or church of political will, church of political thought, and boom. Um, what really surprises me about this is we're in the 21st century. We're supposed to have gone past all these bad forms of politicking, weaponized politics, and other stuff. And it's like when people run for office, people should be able to win on their own merit. What are they proposing? What plans do they want to do? What plans work? And trust people with the intelligence that they'll understand who's telling a lie, who's telling a fib, who's trying to catfish them, who's trying to send them down, trying to sell them swampland in Ukraine or something like that. They'll know the difference, and also they'll know if an elected leader is like too much by Swan, that they realize that he doesn't walk on water, and if he pricks, he will bleed. Like in Richard III, behold the God who bleeds. Well, sometimes the media and the salon sort of make certain leader. I shall not mention his name, but I just wonder how long his people can continue suffering when there's a better solution out there. But the thing is, though, it's like really. The idea of crucifying someone today by basically putting in the news, well, first president to ever be fingerprinted, photographed, mugshot, talked on criminal charges. Oh my God. Where's the respect for the office? Where's the respect for government? Where's the respect for decency? Even at the height of the Clinton investigation, there's a Senator Joe Lieberman said, "Don't you have any decency, sir?" And even during the McCarthy things, that don't you have any decency, sir? God. excuse me, I shouldn't, I should watch myself. But I'm very, very surprised at this. It's it's amazing. It's amazing. And I just wonder, so what's going to happen when on the 2024 election comes and let's say past 2024 election, let's say someone runs against the elitist and what happens to people like them and they have great ideas and they're going to improve the country and do great things like Trump did to improve the country and stuff. And so instead of the negative political ads, are they going to say, well, let's see, you have 2 unpaid parking tickets in the city of Chicago, and it's too late to make it right. So we're going to elevate that to a felony. And based on the Constitution, sorry, you can't run for president, you can't run for Senate, you can't run for House. Well, those are 2 tickets in dispute. I got there in time. Sorry, you're gonna have to take that up. And right now those things, that information sealed. So there's nothing you can do about it. Tough luck. Is that a society we want to live in? Do we want to live in where even if you're traveling, let's say like Sandy and I used to travel basically down to Florida every spring. And during the fall. We go through Chicago and we go through Indiana, go through Maryville, and I think we took Route 51. So because we went down to southern Indiana, Kentuckiana, through Louisville, down to Birmingham, Montgomery, Tallahassee. So if someone's traveling let's say someone's traveling like that and they happen to run into a community that's sort of low on money and they see someone traveling like in a Range Rover or someone that basically, that the stuff doesn't look like that looks like an outsider to a elitist party. So does that mean that basically if a sheriff should pull them over and say, well, you got a dinged headlight there, and you're missing a screw on your license plate. Well, that's 2 misdemeanors right there. We're going to have to call our city attorney here and have him take a look to see. Oh yeah, well that goes up to a felony. We're going to have to take in and have book you, and you're going to have someone outside pay the felony fine price. You're going to have to be a guest of ours for about 6 months. Do you really want to live in a society where basically people could be charged that much? It's almost like, well, it is like the Tale of Two Cities, where basically people can be called up on double jeopardy due to a corrupt district attorney, can be made a felony due to 2 misdemeanors because of a poor civil code. In Wisconsin, we have old laws too. Because this law about 2 misdemeanors goes back to an old law from colonial days. In Wisconsin, we have old laws too about cohabitation. However, at that time, around 1970, the same as in 1970 New York, the 2 misdemeanors equals a felony law was not prosecuted, even though it couldn't be taken off the books. And the cohabitation law in Wisconsin was not prosecuted because people realized that people live together even though they're not married. You shouldn't have to be married to spend time with the partner that you love. That was the thought in 1970. And Wisconsin's a Republican state. I'm a Republican. I'm a registered Republican. I voted for Trump, and I'll vote for Trump again. And the thing is, I also, as a Wisconsin, I agree to split my ticket. So I vote on certain issues as I see fit. Like with regarding the 1849 abortion law, I voted no. I vote, so basically I'm voting for a Democrat judge who some people consider too liberal. But basically, I do feel that the 1849 law as it stands is unworkable, because it makes me shudder about what people would have to do any other way. And I do feel that people have a right to an abortion, or if they choose to, because It's not fair to have people hear stories. Well, I was raised in a family of 8 brothers and 8 sisters. Even though we were poor and we suffered and such, I still came out good. Well, not really, because some of them come out very aggressive. They come very hostile, and some of them don't are the ones that they'll stab you in the back because basically they did go through so much hardship as a youngster. It's better not to have people go through hardship, to make sure that they get a proper education, that they can get a proper job, that they do have enough to eat, that the average size of the family is not 4'11", where the average size of the family is 6'2". And in Wisconsin, also we value milk. We don't hoard milk from people like some states do. When people are in need, we give people as much milk as they need. And also we don't mind if we're a little bit big. We prefer people to have milk, dairy products, cheese, and other things because that's healthy for you and stuff. So to conclude this, to conclude the show today, I'm just going to say one thing. Please think. What type of society do you really want to live in? Do you want to live in a society where basically, if you get one parking ticket, you're late on paying your tags on your truck or your car, and you happen to someone thinks you're happen to be thinking the wrong way or the wrong political party, that they want to make an example of you, and they're going to use this old colonial law of making 2 misdemeanors into a felony and charge you as a felon and bring you into downtown and fingerprint you and mugshot you and put your picture in the photograph. And if you're a professional, take away your professional license and your right to work as a professional, and even affect your family's ability to like to work as a professional or obtain a proper income in the future. Do we want a society that's that draconian, that's that cruel, that's that like Two Tales of a City, or that's like that's like in the Bible where Pontius Pilate, well, I'm Pontius Pilate, you believe my way, or I'm going to crucify you. Do we want to live in a society like that, run by political elites and weaponization of the political laws? I sure don't, and I think others don't either. Well, let me know what you think. I prefer to be reached by Twitter at Diana1A or at Ideas with Diana. Also, I'm gonna set up an account at Truth Social as well, and I am gonna try to set up an account at Rumble and Telegraph in the future. When I do have those other accounts set up, I'll announce it on this show. I'd like to thank you for watching, and this has been Ideas with Diana.